Why does big government fail? Is it because Ronald Reagan said so, or is it because there is a theology behind the institution of government? I'm going to have to go with the latter. Let's take a look at big government, how it fails when it tries some things, succeeds when it does other things, understanding that God has actually instituted the whole concept, and He has prescribed how it is supposed to work. And when it doesn't operate the way that God defined it, described it, and ordained it to work, it is bound to fail. You see, big government doesn't fail because it can't do certain things well, because it's big, because it's bloated. No, big government can't work because God said, you're not supposed to be big. And when they try to do that, it is bound to fail because that is the system that God has set up. This is a reminder that everything that happens on earth is a reflection of what is going on in heaven. Recently had the privilege of spending time with Dr. John MacArthur at the Master's Seminary, filming our new TV series called Untethered. And he talked about this very thing, that institutions on our planet are actually ordained by God for a reason.
You know, just a way to look at that, maybe a threefold way to look at that. When God created the world and the world fell into sin, God had to do some things to keep people from becoming so free that they just self-destructed. So the first thing He did was put a personal authority in everyone. That's the law of God written in the heart. And the conscience is a device that reacts when you violate the law of God written in the heart. I'm not talking about the Bible, I'm just talking about the law of God written in every human heart. And your conscience is a device that makes you feel guilty, anxious, fearful, frightened, panicky when you violate the law of God written in your heart. That conscience is a kind of a whip that swats you, whacks you, and says, you need to stop doing that. That's personal. Then God designed families. And in the family, mom and dad become the authority, the protection and the authority to pass on the right kind of behavior to children. Here's a frightening thought. And the Bible says God gave the parents a rod. A rod. So the personal authority is the law of God in the heart, and the weapon is the conscience. The family authority is the mom and dad who have the responsibility to train the children, and the weapon is the rod of discipline. And then go to the third, that's human government. And the Bible says that the human government has a sword, and they carry not that sword in vain. They take out the big weapons to restrain society. Man is so fallen that God had to put restraints personally, in the family, and in society. And there have to be weapons that threaten people if they go outside the boundaries. We all live in this kind of world. We understand that. And you have to realize that is not some form of evil. That is a high form of providential good that God has built into His world to keep you from self-destructing.
That would be reason number one, that God ordained government. It's for our good. You see, because of the curse, because of the fall, because of our totally depraved nature, left unbridled, we would be living like the people in the days of Noah, completely, totally wicked, acting on what is going on inside of our hearts. God, in His kindness, established a mechanism to keep wicked people from behaving in an evil way. And that institution for society is government. Government is for the good of people, recognizing that we are totally depraved sinners. And if there was not a law that enforced some rules that hopefully reflect God's standards, then society will never be even civilized. In fact, it'll be worse than that. It will devolve into debauchery, into murder, and into mayhem. That is why government exists, to punish evildoers. And that's why Romans 13 says government has one job, and one job only: punish bad people, so that we can live in a society, in a culture that isn't completely chaotic. That is why, if government endeavors to enter into a realm, to take upon itself a task that God has not assigned to it, it is bound to fail. You see, big government doing welfare programs, doing highway programs, those things are not boondoggles and failures because big government is bad. Those things are failures because God said, government, you will go this far and no further. Which means that when they do, it's not going to work. Not because it doesn't work, but because God said it won't work because you're doing it the wrong way. That means God's theology is better than Ronald Reagan's.